bad ends up in an orange jumpsuit come election time. If you're a Republican voter, if you vote conservative and you see these new federal charges coming against Donald Trump, are you more or less inclined to cast your vote for him? Could you be an objective juror on this case, as Paul from Brighton had asked? 800-859-0957. It's 800-859-0WJR. Your call is coming up in a moment. He does control the narrative here, Kevin. I think Donald Trump himself made the announcement that an indictment was handed down. He's not shying away from it. So if you're running against him in the Republican primary, how do you handle this?
I tell you, Donald Trump has a big mouth, and it got him in trouble again. He just keeps doing it. His words and actions gave the DOJ enough ammo to go after him legally, and they did, probably because they wanted to. And like it or not, Donald Trump could be convicted. Media coverage, Tom, is going to play such a crucial role in shaping what happens next. There will be no plea bargain, and there will be enough evidence to get past a prelim, and this thing will go to trial. So that means it will go to a jury. And the way the media portrays and analyzes the indictment, it will influence public opinion to some point, and potentially jurors. So the media could be picking the next president either by swaying jurors who may lock Trump up, or the public who may not vote for him, or who may sit home and not vote at all. Join us now is Roshini Rajkumar, political strategist and host of the Crisis Files. Good morning, Roshini. How are you?
Good morning. Another Monday, another indictment.
All right. More to come, I'm sure. Have you been following the media coverage of the indictment, and do you think it's been fair? Has it been biased either way, or both?
Well, that's a really interesting question. I have been following most of it. I think the question for me that I have not seen an answer is, how is this indictment different from when President Biden removed documents, right? And that I just haven't seen. It just seems like the reporter, whomever it is, from whatever outlet, says it just is different. So that is something that's going in the favor of Donald Trump right now. But I do agree with you. I think they will find enough evidence to take this to a trial, and, the circus kind of continues, guys.
Sometimes I'll use the analogy, if 10 cars are speeding down the road and you're the one who got pulled over for speeding, you can't really use the excuse, everyone else was. But I think that's different when you're talking about charging a former president and a candidate for president who's running against a current president who is in charge of the DOJ. I think, if you ended up on a jury, I feel like that would have some weight to it.
Yeah, no, I mean, I totally agree with you that would have weight to it. And, but some of the weight is also going to be in the transparency and the openness and the fairness of all of this. I mean, look, these are not good headlines in any way. There's no part of this that's good for the narrative, just absolutely no part of it. But I do think there are some issues with, even how the charges have come about. But, I often wonder if Donald Trump is kind of running a two-pronged strategy. Because, as you mentioned in the open, Kevin, to our segment, that he was saying, this is going to happen, this is going to happen. It's almost like he says these things to kind of get ahead of the headlines, to maybe blunt them a little when they finally happen. But I'm going to tell you, it never looks good if you are running for president and there's a mugshot. I mean, it just never looks good. Those are not good optics. So this is quite a conundrum for him. But, again, he defies odds all the time. There are still his followers who are going to be faithful to the end. So then it kind of gets to, what will the other GOP contenders in the field do with this information?
Yeah, what do you think they should? Because Trump gets a lot of support from his main opponents in the primary, like DeSantis and Tim Scott and Mike Pence. They rallied to his side on this. Was that the way that the GOP candidates should respond, do you think? Or should they do more of a kind of a Chris Christie approach and use these charges against him?
Well, I think right now, I've seen a little bit from DeSantis that looked pretty good, which to me was the right way to go, which is, let's not make Donald Trump a part of my candidacy, meaning the GOP contender. Let me run on my own platform. Let me travel. Let me make my own headlines. And I think that's the way to go. I don't know if it's exactly the Chris Christie way, because Chris Christie is still bringing in Trump's name into that. I think if they each go on their own laurels, let's put it that way, make their own headlines, create the hubbub around them, maybe that kind of quiet middle that always gets talked about in our country, and I think I'm kind of part of that, although I guess I'm not that quiet.
You're not that quiet.
On your show and talk about this, but I don't ever say who I'm going to vote for. But I think we know I'm not a Donald Trump fan. But those other GOP contenders who are out there, for them to have a shot, they've got to change the narrative in their favor. They've got to give that quiet middle, and even the Republicans in their own party who can't stand Trump, a reason to get behind them.
Yeah.
So that's really the headline for the rest of the GOP field.
Speaking with Roshini Rajkumar, political strategist, host of the Crisis Files podcast, a big claim from the Democrats, you touched on this, is their argument against whataboutism. Like it's inappropriate for GOP candidates to show how Hillary Clinton and Joe Biden have done the exact same thing, but they have been treated far differently by the DOJ and the FBI. What do you think about that? Should it be okay to say, hey, wait a minute here, Hillary and Joe did the exact same thing, and why are they being let off the hook?
I do think that that is fair, Tom, because that's a point of law. And as a lawyer, I'm going to always stick with the law. Are we following the rule of law, the statute or the case law, and are we treating you the same, regardless of what your party is, or are we treating you differently? And that is a standard the media really does need to live by. And so when the media lets that be a slippery slope or makes the optics seem like they're favoring one party over the other, that's when we really have to question the media, and that's when the American public, loses the faith in what is even being reported.
Oop.
So it is very important that the laws are followed according to the letter of the law.
So what about the rule of law, though? It really looks like this guy, Trump, and Biden for that matter, illegally retained classified documents. It looks like Trump probably obstructed, trying to move them to other areas. It seems to me this is serious. You got classified documents that potentially could put lives in danger, and you have presidents carelessly taking them home with them and putting them in their garages and in their bathrooms. What do we do about it? If we don't charge someone eventually, what do we do about it?
I know. I mean, you give us that backstory on this, Kevin, and it is just preposterous to me. The thing is, it should be followed the same, whether it's Biden or Trump. They should both be held accountable. Now, that sets us, though. Let's say you're going to charge both of these guys. Then that puts us also, as it does right now with just Trump alone, into this place of, do we really want to see a past or a sitting president in a court of law, under oath giving testimony? Do we really want to prosecute that person? That is something that I don't think our founders ever could have imagined, because I don't know that we really could have predicted a day, now, short of Richard Nixon, when, he resigned. That was still an era where you're going to resign before you even let it go any further, to sully the office, right? So we are in a really chaotic and I think dangerous place as a country that this federal indictment went down. Now I want to see how both parties deal with it. And it's, I think we kind of know how Trump is going to deal with it. We need to see how both parties as well as the media deal with it.
Always appreciate your perspective. Roshini Rajkumar, political strategist and host of the Crisis Files podcast. Great to talk with you again. Thanks, Roshini.
Thanks, guys.
All right.